Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The United State. I'm Shade. This is my co-host, Rich.
What's going on?
Hey, Rich.
How you doing? Yeah.
And, we have a very special guest today that we're really stoked to interview. His name is John O'Hare from Norman, Oklahoma. Hey, John.
Hey, guys.
What's going on,
How you doing?
Oh, great.
Awesome. And so you might recognize John. He was on Sky Sports News. It went a little viral on the NUFC hashtag. He flew all the way from Oklahoma for our match against Spurs to experience his first game and the atmosphere and be a part of what me and Rich are absolutely jealous over, which is the first match, under the new regime. So we'll talk about that. But first and foremost, we'll get started with just learning a little bit more about you, John, and then we'll talk about that, epic day. Besides the result, it was an epic day, and I'm sure you absolutely loved it.
Oh, it was terrific. Yeah, I don't know where to start, but my father was born in Newcastle. Actually, I guess he lived in Leamington, but it was only for the first few years. They all got on a boat and traveled to New York, and he grew up there. But strong connection with Newcastle in the Northeast. His mother always made roast beef and Yorkshire pudding every Sunday. So that's how I grew up. And my mom had to learn that from my grandmother. So that was part of our family. And,
that's amazing.
That really is.
That's the best way. Roast beef and Yorkshire puddings.
Oh, it's terrific. Yeah, and my wife knows about it. She can make it too.
Oh, that's a good sign.
That's cool that's kind of been passed down to generations and to to your family as it's grown through through marriage and everything like that. That's fantastic. So he grew up. He was born in Newcastle, came out to New York, and how do you were you born in New York or were you born in Oklahoma?
No, actually, he and my mother had 5 kids.
Okay.
And I was born in Baltimore. They decided to get away from New York and start their family, and so they started their family in Baltimore. I was born, and then a year later, my brother was born. A year after that, my sister was born. Another year, my other sister, and then my other brother. So it was like, oh my gosh, we got a whole big family, Irish English family,
Yeah.
But there was a strong connection, and in the 80s, I know my parents both went back to Newcastle, and of course we were young adults. We were in college, so we didn't get to go. But they brought back jerseys and all kinds of things for us, the kits. So it's just been in my blood, and it's been rekindled with Peacock and NBC doing the games here. You just kind of sit up and notice and start watching. And during COVID, I had a whole year to get involved, because you're locked at home. So at the urging of my son, who's a big Premier League fan.
Nice.
Is he a Newcastle fan as well?
Well, he is now. He's kind of a Chelsea guy, and
so
that's
a shame.
Yeah, he's followed Chelsea, but and I've always supported that. But then I started watching the Chelsea games, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to get over here and watch the Newcastle game. And I just started watching, and it's been a year and a half, 2 years, and I can identify with the struggles and everything. When I lived in Baltimore, I sold beer at the stadium, and we had a terrible owner in football. The Baltimore Colts had an owner, Bob Irsay, who devalued the club, and people would boo him and throw things. And so I immediately could relate to the situation that Newcastle was in.
Yeah.
And what I was worried about was the Newcastle fans were always saying, we ought to boycott the games. We ought to. And And I always thought it would be better if at the 10-minute mark, everybody walk out of the stands for 10 minutes and have a pint,
Yeah.
and then come back in later, because it would be noticed on TV, and it would be a way to, it'd be a way to register that, no, we support our team, but we do not support what's going on with our team, But if you boycott altogether, then things happen like, well, I don't know if this could happen in the Premier League, but in the States, it was like, well, we're going to move the team to Indianapolis,
Yeah.
No, you
Yeah,
can't.
that can't. That I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of greedy owners in England, or at least greedy owners of Premier League clubs that would love for that to be an option.
Yeah.
But as much as the game changes and some of the things that we love about it go away as we move into the modern day of football, I find it very hard to see a scenario where owners could get away with something like that. I mean, I'm sure you saw the backlash towards the Super League, and they weren't even talking about moving clubs. They were just talking about moving clubs out of the current league that they're in. And the backlash that came from that was astounding, and rightfully so, right?
Yeah, I thought it was great, because a lot of times when people are upset in the US, they can't influence anything, and that just completely shut that plan down, which was great.
Yeah, I thought that was it really was, because I share that same sentiment with you about US teams. I think that football is for the fans. It's for the supporters, it's for the community, and it's for the cities that it was founded in, right? And stuff like that. And so I think that with American fans, and this is a generalization because there are a lot of diehard American fans for other sports and stuff like that, and and myself included, I'm a diehard Lakers fan outside of Newcastle, but I think that there is a level of it adds a level of disconnect to American fans, because for us in LA, the Chargers went up from San Diego to LA, which no one in LA wanted the Chargers. The Chargers just wanted a nice stadium. Yeah. And then the Rams came back from St. Louis. And, I mean, I'm not a big NFL person, but I also I feel no attachment to either one of those teams. I know the Rams were in LA before, but my whole life, the Chargers have been San Diego, and, the majority of my life, the Rams have been St. Louis. And and then of course it's a little hypocritical because the Lakers moved as well. A long time ago, but my whole life I've known them as LA. Yeah. And it really isn't something that I think it removes the type of, I'm looking for a better word than ownership that supporters feel like for their football clubs in England, and not just England, but in Europe specifically, and other parts of the world as well. It kind of takes that connection away.
It does. Yeah. It devastates people when a move occurs. And in Baltimore, I lived there, and I was selling beer at the stadium. I was really into it. It ripped their hearts out. And then they lose their jerseys and everything. They lose their history too. It goes with them, And the smart thing that happened here in the US was when Cleveland lost their team, their team moved to Baltimore and became the Ravens. The Cleveland fans said, well, you're not taking the colors. You're not taking the colors. And that was that's it exactly. Take your team, take your owner, get out of here. We need the jerseys. We need the colors. They stay here, and we'll have another team someday. And they did. And that's how you handle a bad owner. Of course, we got a better solution in Newcastle.
Yeah, we did.
We got bought out finally.
I know, and it's been so strange. I'm sure Rich will agree. I mean, I'm always really optimistic, but I think more so it's been so strange being so celebratory as a Newcastle fan for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
right, Rich.
I mean, it's just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
it was you got back into it, John, with the Peacock and NBC the past couple of years, right? But it's just been the same performance after the same performance. You might get a few wins, and we've been talking about this takeover for basically 3 or 4 years. Like every summer, there's going to be a takeover or some change, because we knew that the owner just was heading the club in a stale direction. You know, he wanted to
Yeah.
get rid of it. He wanted to get rid of it. So,
Yeah.
no, it's a breath of fresh air. What was your first memory as a Newcastle United fan? What was that like? When did you discover Newcastle United?
Well, I couldn't watch the games. I would just like, if you'd find something somewhere where the tables were announced, you just root for them. But I didn't know too much of the history.
Yeah.
But I've become familiar, very familiar with Kevin Keegan and Alan Shearer and all the big names, and you can get online now and you can relive different games and see things from a different era.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's when I really immersed myself. But I guess my only uh, early memory, this was more personal. My brother and I were. My brother Tom lives in North Carolina, and his son and him, big Newcastle fans. And in the 80s, we went to the All-Star game in Cincinnati. It was like 1988. And we were
Wow.
both wearing our Newcastle shirts. And we were all over town going to the baseball game and having a great time. And we walked into this one place, and there was a big party going on. And it was Boomer Esiason, who's the quarterback in Cincinnati,
All
was
right.
having a get together, and we didn't know that we weren't invited. We just went in, and somebody, I think it was a kicker for Cincinnati, looked up at our shirts and go, Newcastle United, and so we went over and talked to him. He's a kicker, and I guess he was on the team, or he was doing NFL football broadcasts in Great Britain. But immediately he recognized the jerseys that my parents had brought back, when they went to Newcastle. So that was a personal memory, but it was not related to the team. It was like, somebody knows what this means, and he was excited. He was like, wow.
Oh, there you go.
All the way here in Cincinnati,
Yeah, I think that's a lovely memory. I mean, I'm a much more modern fan, as most of our listeners will know. And so, and this will change. It's inevitable now, but like, even in the 5 years I've been back in the States since living in the Toon, like whenever anyone recognizes the shirt, I get so excited, because it's so uncommon even now, and being in the Peacock and Premier League USA era, right? So it's like, I can't even imagine what that would be like pre-internet.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Television broadcasting, right? That makes it even more special in my eyes, right?
Yeah, somebody recognizes this, you're like, you're my half brother already.
Yeah. It's like whenever I see anyone in a Newcastle top, I'm like, okay, like we're family now,
Yeah. You see Man United and Chelsea and that kind of thing all over, but
everywhere.
This is different.
Yeah.
It's an iconic shirt, and just going back to being celebratory, Shade will tell you that when I was talking about, my first game and the atmosphere, my hairs were like just like standing up. Now he remembers like on the Thursday when the takeover was announced.
Yeah.
I'm sure you must have had those feelings when you got to the ground.
Yeah, I was a little emotional. I mean,
yeah,
I really was.
And, we don't want to. We're gonna get to that. Let's keep it. Let's keep talking about you being a fan out here, and then we will get to the Spurs and takeover of it all.
Yeah.
But we don't. We've got some time. We'll build up to that. But so I think we talked about kind of your earlier memories and you being reconnected because of Peacock and Premier League USA, and I totally agree with you. I was. That didn't exist really before I moved to Newcastle, and I was watching English football at the time. And then when I got back to see what it's like now is amazing. And I mean, sucks having to get up early, but other than that, like, it's fine. I don't even notice it anymore. So what's it like? Everyone that listens to us and everything like that knows what it's like for us in San Diego now. What's it like on a match day for you? Because I know you're not in a supporters group. You don't have one where you're at. So how does that look for you? What's it like being a fan in Oklahoma?
Well, there are a couple of people I correspond with that are big Newcastle fans, and there's one that works at the University of Oklahoma. He works in the ticket sales. So I deal with him for football tickets for the University of Oklahoma.
Oh,
But
nice.
it turns out he's a big Newcastle fan.
Okay.
And he also travels to like Seattle. He's a big Seattle fan too in the MSL or MLS soccer. So yeah, I have a couple of connections. And then my son, we talk to each other or we text each other on Premier League Day because it's early for us. You know, it's way early for you guys, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I wake up and have breakfast and sit down and drink a cup of coffee, and I realize I'm not getting any exercise on Saturday because it's, you know, Premier League for like 5 hours and then college football and
oh my God,
gosh.
yes. I love it. I love
But
it.
my brother Danny down in Dallas, he runs around to different pubs because they have a lot of people. Of course, a lot more people in Dallas than here, and a lot more.
Is he Newcastle as well?
I'm sorry.
Is he a Newcastle supporter as well?
He supports Newcastle and he supports me, but he also likes Chelsea. He's a big Chelsea fan.
Well,
but he goes to pubs where they have a pub that shows the Chelsea game, a pub that shows Man United, that kind of thing. So he does that.
There's a supporters group in Dallas for Newcastle. I'm pretty sure I've corresponded with them on Twitter before. That's why I was asking. I was curious if maybe he was a member of that.
They just sent me a message as well.
Okay. Yeah. I knew they had a group down there.
Yeah. I think did they tag us last week? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, totally.
Right?
Fort Worth, Dallas, or something.
Yeah. Fort Worth's close by.
Yeah.
But yeah, I may hook up with those guys at some point because we're down in Dallas visiting Danny and his wife Sohana all the time, and can't get enough of seeing your kids. As you grow older.
I can only imagine.
And, I do want to say something. My brother has children. I've got children, and we grew up, coaching them in baseball and all these sports. They got away from that. They wanted to play soccer. They wanted to play soccer at an early age. Now these kids are 30 years old and they're really into it. They're into the Premier League.
Nice.
They're making MLS a bigger and bigger thing here in the States.
Yeah.
And, it's not hard to imagine that someday a Super League will emerge or a partnering between Premier League and maybe some other leagues around the world, because it's really became a big thing. Not during my generation, but during this generation, it's really got traction.
Yeah. Well, I think that, just even with the latest news on what they're trying to do with the World Cup being every 2 years, I think it's safe to assume that the Super League dying isn't necessarily mean it's gone. I think that they're going to look for other avenues to explore and how to monetize, and how to take advantage of the financial benefits that the Super League was meant to bring a lot of bigger clubs.
Yeah.
I think that the MLS still has a long way to go.
Sure.
When they do their all-star games, it's definitely gotten a lot better in my lifetime. I've been watching MLS for quite a bit. But even when they do their all-star games and stuff like that, you can still see the even when they're playing with their best, the quality's not there for maybe a league, but maybe opening the door for some type of competition where it's cross-continental in some way.
Yeah.
I can definitely see being a thing that the billionaires who own everybody would aim to go for if it means that it'll bring some more money in.
Yeah.
I think what you're seeing now is, with the FIFA, it's more of a kind of a participation. It's more of a design. Like Arsene Wenger is, spearheading this. He really wants some of the African nations, some of the obscure countries that you don't hear about, or they have team. They want to see more clubs, more countries, in playing the World Cup. The downside of that is the quality just goes down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and it's even like with the Nations League was just gone. I think France won the Nations League, right? I mean, I didn't really. I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? It's not really I fear that the more competitions that we do, it'll just devalue the product a little bit. Yes,
I mean,
you'll get some money, but on the upside, what you could do is clubs could have bigger teams instead of a 20 team.
bigger squads, right?
Bigger squad, so A or
Yeah.
B. Like your A team plays in the Premiership and the Champions League, and your B team might play in the whatever it is. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you know,
evolve.
there's so many directions this could go in, but one direction I'd like to see is, how the NFL plays their games in London,
yeah,
2 or 3 games a year now, and it sure would be good to see a break during the year for a couple of matches to come over here.
Yeah.
It would reinforce the fan interest here, and probably give them a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there was talks of doing that with the likes of like Real Madrid and a couple other Spanish teams, I believe, a few years back. It was just there was a lot of backlash because a lot of season ticket holders were like, well, that's another away day gone or a home match gone, and so that was an implication on that. I mean, I think that like Newcastle came over 6-7 years ago for a preseason tournament. I think that, and then I think, Liverpool and Man City come over almost every year just because they do have the fan base that, we'll inevitably have now that we have our takeover, right? But I think that preseason tournaments to gain fitness, but held over in the States would definitely gain more traction, improve fan base, and also generate some revenue, especially, for the clubs and stuff like that.
Sure.
That's something I would definitely love because, it would be amazing to get a couple of matches in, even if it is just preseason, just to see our squad and connect with our players and everything like that, as opposed to having to drop, $1,500 to get out there.
Oh yeah.
Minimum just on your flight, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of possibilities, and like I said, I tend to be, I'm not somebody that fears change by any means. When it comes to the game of, football and everything like that, I do think that there are things that we definitely need to leave untouched, but we also have to create, create different streams to compete with the modern world as well. And I understand that. Right.
Yeah.
And what that looks like, I don't really know. Some of the changes that they've made to the game, I haven't been a fan of, just with more stoppage, especially with goal time, goal decisions and stuff like that. I think that takes away from that, like what I fear, right, is, if I were to have children one day or grandchildren one day, I would hate to see that, that 94-minute goal where everyone loses their mind, right? And you can't believe, that excitement, that passion, and the whole stadium erupts. I would hate to see that go because kids are conditioned to wait for what the ref decides, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of those concerns that I have, but then in other aspects, VAR has worked out, but so it's hard, right? It's figuring out, it's the right thing. I, selfishly want the Premier League to always be the top league in the world. And I don't think that has any, I really don't think that there's any competition there. I think La Liga is actually on a downward spiral. And I think that Serie A is definitely on the up and up and is higher than La Liga nowadays. But I think that everyone knows the best league in the world is the Premier League.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Would you say? Oh, sorry, John. Go ahead.
Oh, I have gone to games here in the States. I went to a game, a match in New York, the Derby. I went to the what is it? The Red Bulls versus New York City football club. I went with my brother Tom and Ryan, his son, Tom O'Hare and Ryan O'Hare. We went to that a few years ago. We combined it with a Yankees visit too, because I'm a baseball nut. And then when I would go visit my son Jack in Seattle, the team was really good. Like, I don't know, 10 years ago, they were really, really good. And we went to a game and the stadium was completely full and everybody was acting like it was a Premier League game. They were like really into it in Seattle.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. That got me like, kind of back into, I got to really watch a lot of this, and
Yeah.
then my son Danny and my son-in-law, I can call him that now, Brandon, Brandon Barber in Denver. He's a Magpies fan too.
Oh,
And
okay. Does he
yeah,
go?
so
You know if he goes to the meetups there?
I'm sorry.
You know if he goes to the Denver meetups?
No, I don't. I'm going to talk to him after this, and we'll see. But
Good.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's a big soccer fan,
That's
and
awesome.
I
I
love
think he
They've
was.
got a great group in Denver. We
Yeah.
interviewed them for our last episode.
Ah,
And they're called the Mile High Magpies. They're all
ah,
over Twitter and stuff like that, but really good diehard Newcastle fans. And I'm blanking on the name of the pub they go to right now, but it'll be easy to find if he's not already hip to that. I would definitely let him know about it because he'll have a good crew to root with and get a bit of that passion down in Denver.
Isn't it the Celtic?
Yeah, that's right. It's the Celtic.
oh,
yeah.
is it? Oh, okay. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's amazing how, John, you know your story is amazing, and you have all these Newcastle fans that like all these random parts of the country. It's just and that's the thing about like wearing your shirt and wearing your passion on your sleeve, because people just recognize it. And then I think it just with these different supporters groups around the country, we can bring everyone together. It's going to be a massive roadshow for us.
It's kind of like like I look at it like it's like the exclusivity of it right now, right? Because we are, we're still kind of, now people are, our club's in everybody's mouth right now. But, before the last 2 weeks, no one really paid much attention to us. And it was kind of like that. Like, it's like, I kind of always talk about how like when somebody's a police officer, right, and they bump into another police officer, like you have that understanding with one another, or like a veteran or somebody that played the same sport. Like I noticed it with rugby a lot because rugby's not big in the States, where it's like you meet another rugby person, you like automatically are like, all right, we're cool, right? And it's like that with Newcastle in a way. Like, it's like somebody else out here supports it. It's like, all right, like I already know you're my friend, like we're already family, like it's like a members only kind of thing right now.
I think John's muted.
Oh, I think we lost you for a second, John.
Yeah, I think you hit the mute button, John. I think he's trying to figure it out.
All right, no worries. We'll let John. How you doing, Rich? We'll let John figure his mic out.
I was going to say just a quick side.
I think I got it.
All right.
Oh, perfect. John's back. Hey, just a quick side. We like the Premier League as the best league, right? We all agree it's the best league.
Sure.
But do you think there still is an argument? Do the best players, on average, are they still in the French, the Spanish, the Italian league?
Well, I would have to leave that to you two because I'm, like I said, my son is more of and Brandon in Denver are more soccer fans for life.
Yeah.
I'm baseball crazy guy, and they're the ones who brought me back into the soccer, and
Yes.
that's when I started following only Newcastle.
That's good. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we're really happy that they brought you back into it, and
Good.
of course that you're a part of our Toon Army family and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just going off of what Rich said, for me, I think that there are great players in other leagues, but I think that overall,
yeah,
like, and on a grand scale, because it's not just your greedy six, it's even your lower league, lower table clubs get really great players, and I think that there is definitely an attraction for almost any footballer who has skill to want to prove themselves in England, because we are known for being the toughest league. We do tend to be more physical, but I think it's also that it's just it's got the most coverage all over the world as well.
Yeah.
And it's like being on the main stage at a festival, right? It's like, yeah, it's cool if your band makes it to the festival and gets to play for 100 fans, but it's even better if you're on the main stage playing for 200,000, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's definitely, then the competition, I think, is much higher.
I just think you hear whispers on the media or like other fan podcasts, and they say, well, Newcastle, they'll struggle to attract the best players, and I'm like, I would agree with you a little bit, but I think once we get the club in a situation with a good coach, good structure up top with a new sporting director, recruitment director, get some good ambassadors going around, and we do more podcasts like this to increase the fan base worldwide. Yeah, those top players are going to, we might not get like Haaland, but we could get some of the players and we can build it. We're not expecting Mbappe to walk through the door next week.
Yeah. No. Well, along that line, a lot of people on Twitter have said, everybody says we can't get the best players and all that. Look back in history, we had a really solid club. We had one of the bigger stadiums, and it wasn't except for recent history that, like Tottenham builds a big stadium, and it's like, hey, Newcastle was a big deal, way back.
100%. And the thing is, I mean, I definitely feel like there was a chokehold on our club, and everyone will agree with Ashley running it,
right?
And the thing that we've always had going for us, and will continue to do so, is that we have our fan base, right? And they're, it's why everyone's so angry with us right now, because we've been loud, proud Geordies, no matter how bad it's gotten over the past 14 years, right? And now we're loud, proud Geordies, and we have a reason to be loud and proud. And it's basically validated what we've been saying forever. Like, we have the best fans in the world, and we do. And so, like, I think that playing on that stage at St. James Park has been our biggest attraction, overall, but also in recent years. And I think that it's the structural support behind that has hindered us. I think that, our training facilities are not great. Our coaching staff, has had some flops, and then also, you don't need to be a Newcastle fan to know that Mike Ashley's cheap, and that he won't pay the wages, and and that he's just trying to keep us afloat in the Premier League and stuff like that. And so, like, those things I think have hindered us more, because these pundits talking about Newcastle not being a city that people want to live in, I don't agree with that statement whatsoever. Newcastle's a beautiful city with amazing, genuine people, and it's also got it's also got this great multicultural aspect thanks to the universities that are placed there, and there's culture, and there's art, and there's people that look out for one another, and also when you wear that shirt and you play for that club, the love you're given. I don't think that you can feel that love down in London, because you're competing against however many other clubs that are down there in London as well, right? And it is more divided down there because it's a much larger city. And so I think that when we invest in a better training facility, and right now we're washing our windows at St. James Park, and even that's a plus, right? Like, we're all happy about that finally happening. I think that people are gonna, we don't need much. We've just needed some spit shine, right? And I think that allure is going to come back, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of world-class players that want to play on the main stage, but they also want to play for something more than just playing, right? Like, there are players that would, definitely be signed for one of the Greedy Six clubs, but they wouldn't be a superstar. Whereas, like, you come and you understand Newcastle, and you love Newcastle, and you put your heart on that pitch, and you play for that badge with nothing but passion and pride, we will treat you like the superstar that you deserve to be treated like. And there are players even in the Ashley era that have experienced that, like your Tiotes, your Cabayes, your Ben Arfas, and stuff like that. And your Demba Bas and your Papi Cisse's, right? Like, Demba Ba could barely get a game at Chelsea, but he was designated starter and a superstar for us, and we still love him for it and continue to do so. So, I think that'll definitely change. I think that'll change very quickly. And kind of talking about the changes, I think maybe we should start to go into the takeover talk and everything like that. And, we'll get to you getting there for Spurs, but I know you had mentioned on your interview on Sky that you we've talked about, you came back to football and you refound your love for Newcastle, which is amazing, and everything. But so and then I think you mentioned on the interview that you became was it a season ticket holder or just a member?
Oh, I signed up for a membership. Because
okay. I wasn't sure which that was.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is one way to assure that sometime I can buy a ticket.
I see. Okay,
and,
yeah. Okay.
And of course, I panicked because I thought, well, now we've got hope, so I better buy a ticket right away. And gosh, we have so much hope that everybody's so thrilled. If they win that first game, I got to be there. I just got to be there.
So walk me through what the takeover day was like for you, because you were out in Oklahoma, correct?
Yeah. So doesn't mean anything to anybody here, but if you got a news feed, and you're watching the internet, it's like, oh my God, this is going to happen. This is going to happen, and even the people that I met there were saying, yeah, it was quite sudden. Because we'd had this talk, I read the Chronicle every day, I get emails from them and I read everything up, and it's like, there's one sentence in a 15 paragraph story and it's like, okay, that was the new news today. And, nothing is really happening. They're just trying to get you to read the paper. But all of a sudden it was like, it's probably going to happen. And boom, it did. And, the people in hospitality and at the ticket area there, they said, we didn't even know, we knew something was going on, but we didn't know what. And just all of a sudden, 14 years of waiting, it's like, boom, resolved.
So did you buy your flight that day that the takeover got announced, or
what I did was
fruition?
Because I had the membership, I got online and I started looking at tickets, and I watched the tickets going, just they're leaving, so I didn't have enough time to contact Brandon or my son Danny. It was like, I gotta just pull the trigger. And how do I make my wife comfortable in the middle of 52,000 crazy people? I'll buy the hospitality suite, so
wow,
we sat up and ate food before the game, and then we walked to our really nice seats behind the goal in the park grill, and it was just fantastic. So she was comfortable. We had a place to relax before the game. Everybody's carrying on outside, and you could hear it. But we were in a bubble. We were drinking Guinness and just hanging out up there, and then we just opened it.
Oh, go ahead.
We just opened the door and we go to our seats, like a couple rows down, and the Tottenham people were up above us. And I had told her on this trip, I said, if they could just score a goal early, anything can happen, and that's how I felt. It was like, these 52,000 people are going to lift this place. She said, well, you got your wish. Because we scored.
And what a goal as well.
2 minutes in and Callum Wilson's back out there. It was great. It was so great.
I can just hear the emotion and passion in your voice, and obviously see it. And obviously it resonates so heavily with me, and I'm sure Rich will agree. It probably resonates with anyone that supports our club. And I first off, I have to commend you on so quickly being like, all right, how can I do this? And also, how can I get away with it with the wife?
Yeah. That was important.
That's important. But also, it's just, it's always so lovely and heartwarming for me to not only hear, but see that passion come out. Cause it's what I feel every day. It's like how you are right now is exactly how I feel. And every time I get out to Newcastle, is the same wave of emotions. And so you bought your tickets to the game, then you booked your flight, right?
Booked the flight. I already knew where I wanted to stay. And so I booked some hotels, We stayed in Edinburgh for 2 days to kind of get our jet lag out,
Good.
and then took the train down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me. I was emotional. There's no doubt about it. But everybody was.
Yeah. So tell me about that, because I know this was your first match, but you've been in Newcastle before.
Sure.
So you were familiar with the city,
Yeah.
and everything, and obviously, Rich and I are familiar with the city as well, and how amazing it is on a regular day. What was it like? Because I'm willing to bet you were, if not the only, but one of the handful of Americans there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, massively jealous. So yeah, what was the city like leading up to the match? Because we'll get to you being up on Sky and being outside the grounds and everything like that. But what was it like before you even got to the grounds?
Well, we came into town and wandered around the park, and we decided we'd eat at the park. They have a restaurant outside, and that could afford me to go into the where they sell the team shirts and everything.
Oh, nice.
And it was funny. It was like, it was just my wife and I, but the same thing was happening outside. There were other people walking by and just, hey, maybe we'll eat here today, and going down the park. And it was obvious that they were either going to attend the game or they were excited about what was going on in town. And a lot of people passing through and buying all kinds of shirts and soccer balls and all kinds of things at the Newcastle gift shop. And so you could tell there was a buzz. Everybody was excited about it. And I had watched videos before of the takeover day when everybody just came to the park. It was great. It was like, I gotta go. I gotta be there. So it was fun. And the guy next to me said, so we're sitting in a long row, my wife and I, at the game, and the guy next to me, there was a seat that was empty. And I said, well, this is a sellout crowd. There's only one seat here. I'm wondering if somebody's going to sit here. Otherwise, we'll put our coats there. Sure enough, a guy came along and sat down. I said, so you're here by yourself? He goes, well, I have season tickets, but my dad was motivated to go. And he's like, I had to give the tickets to him. So he's down there. I'm up here. So he was downstairs with his friend, his dad. There was so much of that going on. Older people like just getting emotional like me,
Yeah. No, you're making me emotional as well.
Because we're on a track now. We have hope. We're moving forward. And maybe in 10 years, we'll be the dreaded Manchester United hated villains, because we win all the time.
We'll be haters.
Yeah, I mean, we're already getting our hate, and I welcome all of it.
Yeah. And people will say, "Oh, you're wearing that shirt just because they're the richest club," and I'll say, "Oh no, oh no."
Yeah, no, I was telling me and Rich were laughing, I'm like, we can't wait to be called plastic fans. Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Like, mate, you don't even know what we've been through.
I can't wait till someone says that's a fake Geordie accent.
Yeah.
Boston. You're from Boston. No.
You're actually making me tear up a little bit, John.
Oh man, it was
because I would have loved to be there and everything like that, but my mom recently passed away, and she was a Newcastle supporter as well. I passed that on to her, that bug, and in her later years in life, we really, Newcastle kind of became the focal point of our connection. And I think I even put on Twitter, like, I just wish I could have called her, and she would have had so many questions about what this takeover meant for the club and everything like that and everything. And it was just, to even, to have been a season ticket holder and be able to give her a ticket as well and go to the match would have been a dream come true to me, let alone just being able to call her and share the excitement and everything. So you definitely tugging on my heartstrings as well, because obviously I miss her every day, and I'm gutted that she didn't even get a win in for her her final months alive under Bruce and Ashley, but I know she's wherever she is, very excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're definitely getting me emotional as well.
Yeah.
But, okay, so So you got the posh seats. I've sat in the posh seats before. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I did it last time I was there. My best friend Joe treated me to them because I hadn't been back in so long, and it was great. The hospitality suite was fun. John Beresford was there, so I got to meet him, and then we went and sat in our nice little seats and watched Brighton play Newcastle for a 0-0 draw under Rafa, and that was the only point I saw in the 3 matches that I was there, but I'll take it and everything. Yeah. So you guys walking around the grounds, you eat some food and everything before you get into the game. How do you end up on Sky Sports with Keith Downey? Like, was he out there with it being like Sky Sports is looking for a foreign fan, or like how did that all come to be? Because that's why we all know you as the legend that you are now. So we got to talk a little bit about that.
Well, he was doing an interview with a family, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I said, "Oh, that's Sky Sports. Oh, that's big deal," And I said to my wife, "I'm going to get on Sky Sports," and I just walked over, and I said, my wife and I traveled 5,000 miles for this. We're all about it. This is so good. And he goes, "Oh, you got a minute?" I said, "Sure." And then, then I started getting a little emotional about it. But here I am. My dad was born here. I'm on Sky Sports. This is crazy, all of a sudden. But he was real good interviewer. Like yourself, Shade.
Are you listening, Sky Sports?
You too, Rich. You too, Rich.
Oh, thank you. That's it. We're the dynamic duo. That's it. No, we love it.
No, he was very good about moving the questions along and keeping me from getting too emotional. But yeah, I just said we travel from Norman, Oklahoma, and then some of my relatives have actually seen the interview, and they say, "Oh, yeah," and then you felt like you had to give them a geography lesson. We're like 180 miles from Dallas, Texas, because there were a couple of times during the week when people would ask where you're from, and we'd say, "We're from the States," and they'd say, "Well, where?" and say, "Oklahoma," and they'd, "Oh, okay," and like they didn't know where it was, so you have to orient people a little bit. But yeah, he was interested that somebody would travel that far, and actually, some of the other people we met said the same thing. Why are you traveling on holiday? And I was like, "We came for the match," and they went, "Oh." And one guy in Tynemouth, we had eaten dinner on the beach, Riley's Fish Shack.
Yeah.
Great place. And I said, I got to do some things for my wife, on this trip. So we're going to eat on the beach. We went down there. And our waiter at the end, he goes, "Oh, you're from the States. Hey, wait a minute. Are you the guy on Sky News?" And I was like, my wife and I looked at each other. It's like, oh my God, the interview made it. That made it to the news. They really showed it. And he said, "Yeah, you were all over it." He goes, "Let me find it. And so then I went back and I logged in on my computer, and I had 400 new followers from Newcastle. It was like great. It was like 400 new Twitter followers.
Well, yeah, it was like we obviously saw it on Twitter, and like I sent it to Rich. And I was like, and Chris, who runs Gallowgateshots and stuff, and I was like, we totally have to find this guy. Like,
yeah, well,
we're the United States Newcastle podcast. Like, I was like, Rich, we've got to find this guy. So, that's how we had Gallowgateshots retweet it, because they have, they've got a lot of followers on their Twitter, and then we were at, like, my money was on somebody knowing you. Being like, I know who he is, and then I thought I was gonna have to do more,
to
get you, and then you were just like very casually and all cool, like, "Oh, hi, I'm that guy."
I'm that guy. Yeah, I saw your thing. I was like, "Hey, I'm that guy you're talking about." Wow, I didn't know everybody was talking about me.
But, yeah, I mean, well, it is. It's definitely like you called it a pilgrimage, and it is. Like, I know that trek very well. It's not easy to get out there, especially from my side of the states. There's no direct flights to Newcastle. I usually have a layover in middle America, and then I have to fly to London, and then I have to either fly from London to Newcastle, or I've got to take the train from London to Newcastle, or sometimes I luck out and get get a flight into Edinburgh, but it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
So it is, it is amazing. And then also, those types of trips are trips that you usually have to plan a couple months in advance, right? So, I think people were more surprised. It wasn't like you just randomly picked, Spurs, Newcastle. We planned this holiday for 6 months. No, it's a week prior. You were buying your flights. You were making sure the wife was good with it.
So she walked in and I said, I did it. I bought 2 tickets to the next game. And she goes, when's the next game? I said, next week. And she went, okay. And bless her, my wife, Sue, she's the one who figured out where we could get a COVID test, what paperwork we had to follow. We had to do that in Ireland because we changed planes there. We had to also have something done in the UK, so she kept up with all of that. And if it wasn't for that, I either wouldn't have made it or I wouldn't have made it back, because there's requirements to fill out to get there to get back too.
Yeah.
So she did her part. I mean, she was great about it.
Oh, she sounds like just as much of a legend as you do.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
I give her a lot of credit. I mean, it's easy for me to whip out the MasterCard,
That's true.
But she had to do all that planning.
And so you talked about, your, obviously Callum Wilson's goal. I mean, I just remember the biggest bear hug ever from Rich at the pub when we were watching that, and that whole day was a celebration for us. But what was it like for you? Because I'll never forget my first match, and I know Rich doesn't either. We've talked about that in prior episodes. But what was it like for you walking into the stadium for the first time before the match even started?
Well, that was neat because we took a few pictures before anybody was there.
Yeah,
and I looked over, and the ownership group was there. They were in the stadium over there in directors' boxes. They were just kind of looking around and kind of getting the feel of the place like we were, but we were way up at the Park Grill.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, there's nobody in here yet, but it's going to get crazy. And I told my wife, I said, look for war flags.
Yes.
They're back. And I can't wait to see what they do. And they lit up that end zone. It was great. It was great.
It made me cry.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Just to see that everybody's got hope again, And so the stadium was beautiful. The pitch was pristine. It was gorgeous. We worried about rain all week, but we were ready for it, and it never rained. It was a good overcast day, so we didn't have to worry about sun, and we didn't have to worry about rain. We got in there, and the place started really filling up. It was magical. I can't wait to do it again, and I owe it to Tom O'Hare, Ryan O'Hare, Brandon Barber, Danny O'Hare, Jack O'Hare, Peter Fole, Tim Fole, Andy Hegeman, all of my Newcastle peeps. We got to get together and do it again. As a big. We had talked about it, and we got to do it again. We got to get 10 or 12 guys, and some of the wives want to go too. So it's like, yeah, we got to do it.
Oh, you definitely got to do it. And again, I'm Rich, when was the last time War Flags was even in the stadium? Do you remember? Because I know it was. Did they leave when Rafa left?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, basically. So they just had enough, and I know there was protests many a time in the past few years about the current ownership, the previous ownership. Sorry. So there was huge. I was following it for the past several years. Started to go downhill. We just had. If you look at the managers we've had the past 14 years, apart from Rafa Benitez, it's been the bargain basement. You know what I mean? So I do feel sorry for Steve Bruce. I'm definitely in the minority of being, there's no need to get personal with what he's endured. But it's definitely better that he's got to be not managing the tune anymore. So, yeah.
Some
what
people
are your
were.
thoughts on that, John?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Steve Bruce?
Well,
it
was obvious that he had to go, but I think, if I was in his situation, I'd I signed a contract. I've been dealing with all kinds of stuff because the owner, and I can only get so much. It took everything to get Joe Willock, and then I didn't have any more resources to get anybody else. So yeah, I can identify with Rich, but at the same time, we were all like, "Come on, let's get on with it for his sake too." Let's get rid of him. And
I agree because he's not good enough. To take the team forward. And then you see all the players like Maxi coming out and Wilson coming out saying, you're such a lovely and gentle man. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was a brilliant, one of this country's, the UK's best central defenders, because he had Ferguson up his ass. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's the hairdryer. And like, the fact is that he's he's a nice bloke, but doesn't get the job done for me. So
I can relate to that. I mean, he did seem to be a nice person, and the unfortunate thing is he was the front man. You never hear from Ashley, so he had to take all the bullets for Ashley. So in that way, I can feel for him.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you guys are coming from. I think that you're definitely both, what's the word? A lot nicer than me. In that respect, I do understand the hardships of working under Ashley, right? Because especially Keegan was so vocal about it, and everything that he was so vocal about, rang true for the rest of Ashley's regime. That being said, if you call Newcastle your club, you know exactly what you're walking into, Brucey. And of course, you don't want a nice guy to lose you don't want anyone to lose their job. Like, I don't wake up every morning wishing people would be fired. Right. And I don't like feeling like that either. But at the same time, he really didn't handle a lot of the pressure that he was under very well. And I think that had he handled that better, well, first off, I don't think that there's any excuse for it. If you call Newcastle your club, you know what you're walking into. You know that your fans want transparency. You know that your fans want want a genuine interview. And you know that your fans want you to at least understand the culture of being a Newcastle United supporter and living in Newcastle, right? And so, like, where was all of that and stuff? And so that frustrated me. I was happy to see him go, but now with the backlash that is occurring in the media because of it, I'm even happier to see him go, because now he's riding this sympathy train that I don't really think's warranted.
It's funny what people are saying. It's like, oh, well, now that everybody sees the wisdom in Steve Bruce, I guess he's going to end up at Man City or Man United, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, okay,
come on, give me a break.
Sack Ole and bring him aboard, right? No one that. I think I tweeted that yesterday. I was like, all these people coming to his defense, yet no one wants him in their club,
right?
And I don't even, and there was a great Extra Time, which is another one of our shows on Gallowgateshots. They did a great episode where they went over all our past managers under the Ashley era yesterday. And which, if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check out, because it's good. It'll give you they go really in depth on each manager. And it was a really great episode from them. Yeah. But what it reminded me was, like, I really don't think that Brucey got it that bad. I think Alan Pardew got it worse. I just think he shrugged it off well. I definitely remember what it was like for McLaren. And even Rafa got stick. Managers get stick. That's normal. And I think maybe it kind of maybe came as a shell shock to Bruce because he have a season with no fans whatsoever. But
that's right. That's right.
But I don't think he had it that bad. And maybe that's me being too biased and critical. I mean, like I said, I'm happy he's gone. But that's where I'm at on it. And of course, as a human, I don't want anyone to lose their job. But I'm telling you right now, if losing your job means you can wipe your tears with £8 million, I also, what sympathy is to be had? Why do you need to go into the press and act like it's entirely Newcastle supporters' fault that you didn't succeed? Because, we can only be as vocal as we want. At the end of the day, we're not managing the training sessions, we're not managing the players, and we're not coming up with the tactics and the formations, and we're not doing the press interviews, right?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you can be as professional as Graham Jones has been in the pre-match interview for Palace today, and St. Maximin coming out with being he feels bad. You can say all that. We're second bottom of the league.
Yeah.
Second bottom of the league. And they're on about margins. I'm like, margins. You need to win those games. Like, you need to man up and you need to control the game, because too often than not, Newcastle have went one up and let the game slip away. And the defending is just appalling. Worst, John, what was the a quick question? What was the atmosphere like? Obviously, when Callum Wilson scored, first of all, and then how did the atmosphere progress?
Yeah,
I think everybody was just wildly excited and full of hope, and we scored with 2 minutes. 2 minutes in. And the place went nuts. And that's what I was there for. It was like, this is it, And I was hoping that we could continue. But really, I guess it was once they tied it up, you still felt good. But that was like at the 17 mark, I guess, 17-minute mark. So it was good, up until that point, maybe 20 minutes in. And then then it turned into a normal game, I guess, that you had to worry about what was going to happen next and that kind of thing.
Right.
But I talked to so many people who said, we didn't think we were going to win the game. We just wanted to be at this game when we were competitive and we had hope. We know the future looks good. So, we didn't think we were going to win. After one goal, I was like, maybe we can, and I think a lot of people felt that way too. Maybe we can.
I mean, I was definitely, like I'm always the blind optimist, right? And I even publicly went on. It was either our podcast or one that I did with a friend, with a colleague. I was like, like we're gonna win on today, and then we got that first goal, and I was in the pub. I was like, I told you guys we're gonna win. But also in the back of my mind, it really wasn't about that. I would have loved it. I hate Spurs. They're my least favorite club in the world. Everyone knows that. I absolutely despise them. I think Daniel Levy's a villain. But I would have loved the win, but it really doesn't matter. It is about the hope and the progress and War Flags being back and season tickets selling out and people like yourself knowing that they need to go and experience this because it is once in a lifetime type of deal. And that's that, and that passion being reinvigorated. That's really what it's about. And the media can spin it into, we're trying to buy titles and your Mbappe's and everything like that. But there isn't a Newcastle fan, I don't think, that really just wants those things, wants that hope, wants that excitement again. Wants their kids to be playing football in Newcastle tops, not Chelsea ones, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Shit. Yeah.
True.
I had to get a little dig in there, John.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. That's for my son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it got a little sour after the 20-minute mark. What was we obviously saw it on the telly and everything like that, and of course there was that awful moment with the fan who fell ill, and and again we're really, really happy to hear that he is doing fine and he's recovering well, and everyone should be able to, no matter who you support, everyone should be able to go to a football game and come home safe. Of course, 100%. That's a non-starter. So that occurred, and so it was a pretty traumatic day.
Yeah.
Overall. What was your experience once the match concluded? What did you do after that?
Oh, what did we do? Of course, we went back up and had a beer, and there was a there was a person in the club, the Park Grill, and it was one of the legends. I mean, it was one of the Newcastle legends, but I came in a little late, so I didn't know who it was. But he was speaking afterwards, and he says, I told you at the beginning of the game that, it's the same club. I mean, everybody's wildly excited, but it's the same club. We have a lot of things to work on.
Yeah.
But trust me, it's a process, and we're working. I don't think Steve Bruce will last through the weekend. And that's what he told everybody. And of course, everybody's like, "Yeah, good," because there's not much sympathy. It's just like, let's move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
But so we listened to that, and then we left, and we pretty much just walked around town. There's a lot of people still out. We would have loved to win, but it was a great experience, terrific all the way around.
Brilliant.
And when it came to the fan, one of the things I talked to some of my family about is like being cooped up for a year and a half in the house with COVID. I look for that collective experience where you're with a bunch of people who feel the same way as you,
Right.
And that's what I got. And then to see that collective experience help out a man who is having a heart attack. I mean, that in America, that doesn't happen. It's like,
no,
well, they cart the guy off, and it's either a football game or a baseball game, and it's like, yeah, there's some kind of commotion in the stands, but it looks like the medics have got it. Okay, back to the game. 3-2 count, and then they just move on. And this was like, the fans were like, get over here, get him help. They were whistling, and the whole stadium got into it, because once they got the attention of the medics on the bench, the guy grabbed his gear and started walking over, and everybody in the stands was like, run, 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 and got that guy over there. And so the guy who was working on the gentleman who had the heart attack now had the defibrillator, and so they took care of business. But they got lots of applause for the doctor who helped out. And so that was spun in a positive way.
Yeah.
Good.
So
yeah, terrible thing to happen, but you totally nailed it.
Yeah.
It's like on a completely micro level, because that's just so macro. And again, we're so happy that he is doing all right, and we're so grateful to everyone that helped ensure that happened. But it is that collective support. It's the one thing I've been longing for coming out of COVID, and why I'm so grateful to even just have a slice of it in San Diego with Rich and the rest of the crew that we watch the matches with.
Yeah.
Because it is just this supportive, unspoken bond, right, Rich? That
it's unbelievable. You know what I mean? And like, everything can be going on around you, and if something obscure happens, you drop tools, and then you just drop what you're doing, and hey, this is an emergency.
Yeah.
Fair play to the Spurs players as well as our crowd.
You got to give that
as well as our crowd. Oh, for sure, 100%. But there's like, hey, stop! Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on. Something's going on there. So yeah, and same thing that happens. In our pub, if anything goes down, or anyone, we don't see anyone for a while, there's always going to be feelers out and texts going out.
Yeah.
Match. We're a family now, so
100%. We all look out for one another, and like, it is true. Like, I've not got much family on my own, so it's like I really do feel like I have family because of Newcastle United, and it's also kind of like, wherever I go as well, if there's a meetup or there's groups, you already know you have somewhere where you belong. And that's the beautiful thing. And I think that's very unique for our fan base is, like, I'll never forget, one of the moments that really, really impacted me when I was living out there was, I was a student, so I didn't have lots of money, and, students aren't allowed to really work in the UK, especially if they're, international students, right? And so I didn't have a lot of money, and I was in between disbursement for my funding for my degree. So I had like no money for a month, and there was a match on, and my mates were like, "You coming to the match?" And I'm like, I was like, I've got no money for a ticket. And they were like, "Just come down to the pub. We'll buy you a beer, at least hang out." And I was like, okay. And so I went down to the pub, and we were having a beer before the match and talking to people. And I loved talking to like a lot of the older supporters as well, because they would tell me just all these stories that I wouldn't get anywhere else. And this one guy, I don't even know who he was. He's like, "You're going to the match, right?" I was like, "Nah, I don't got a ticket. I'm proper skint this week," and everything like that. And he's all like, "Oh, hold on a second." And he's all like, "We need a ticket going for this one." And then, like 2 different people came up to me, and they're like, "You need a ticket, mate." And I was like, "I'm not got no money. I'm sorry. It's okay." They're like, "No, just here you go." And it was no big deal. And then I got to go to the match, and I'm pretty sure we won that one too as well. And it was just like, I'll never forget that, because I literally had nothing to give. And
great story.
And I already had the bug at that point, right? But but after that, I was just like, wow, like that would not happen in Los Angeles.
Or London.
Or London probably. So that's really, really great. And so did it seem a bit crazy in town after you left the match?
It was okay. It was like
you didn't go down to the big market and have a couple?
No, we didn't. We were happy that we survived the day.
Fair.
We left early to get up there, so we were walking around town, and there was a lot of people out. There was a lot of people out in the street.
Oh, I bet.
From Monument all the way. There's just people walking, and because it was a nice day too. So, but a lot of jerseys, a lot of wearing the colors.
I know. I like practically live in mine these days. It's ridiculous.
You've got enough for one every day of the month, right?
Pretty much. How I do. Yeah.
I watched Shade's the day in the match day vlog last week, and going through was like.
I've got quite a bit of shirts, John, as you'll see now that we're on Twitter together. I collect them and everything, and
that's great.
We did like a Gallowgateshots put out like a day in the life of San Diego supporters, right? So we put together like a little video montage of what it's like out here and how we operate and everything. And it's actually something that we're going to be doing going forward with different supporters groups that we interview. Is in between episodes, we're going to have them film a day in the life, of being in Denver or Baltimore or Dallas, and that way people can kind of see what it's like being a supporter in other areas, maybe more specifically areas that they might not get to or whatever, So we think that's going to be a really cool thing. And so we kicked it off with the San Diego one because that was easy. And it was a lot of fun. But there's a scene in there where I'm like going through all my shirts to pick my shirt for the day.
That's great. I've only got 3.
Made me laugh.
I've got one.
I've got one.
That's a lovely one.
One behind me.
Yeah, those are 2 of my favorites.
And then my
Rich.
I like the Newcastle Brown Ale one, but
my wife. Those are my favorites.
Yeah. So I bought 3 of them, but one of them doesn't fit me. It turns out it fits my wife, and she wore it to the game.
Nice.
Match. So and then we got up there, and I was really surprised. In hospitality, they say, "Oh, you can't wear the jersey in here." You're like, "What?"
Oh yeah, that's correct. I forgot about that.
You have to zip your coat up, You're like, I guess they want to keep the club nice, They don't want to, everybody already drinking too much coming in there, and
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, because I had to wear like a smart shirt when I was in that Brighton game. Yeah, that's right.
But it was okay.
I've never worn a shirt to,
It's like, always wear it.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. So we're not entirely sure if this is going to get released before or after Palace, because we've got Palace tomorrow. Yeah. But what are you anticipating for tomorrow? We've got Graham Jones in the dugout, which I'm quite pleased that he's going to at least get some type of interim role. It's what I was calling for. For the since the takeover got announced. What are your thoughts for tomorrow? You got a prediction, or what do you? Obviously, we're hoping for a win, but
sure. I can't really tell because I feel like I read something just recently that he's been given 2 games. You'll
yeah,
be
that's what we're hearing. Yeah,
yeah. So imagine that you're like, wow, I finally get to this point. I was hoping that they would fire the manager and I would be it for until they figured everything out.
yeah,
And so maybe I'm a little worried that maybe he would feel the same pressure. It's like, wow, I only got 2 weeks in this. But he's done good for the club, so I'm hoping that he can turn things around and they show really well against Crystal Palace and Chelsea after that.
yeah. Rich, what
But
about you? What do you think for tomorrow?
tomorrow, I just hope they come out and play really hard, give it their all for him, and let's get some points.
Yeah, we
Let's
need
get some points.
I mean,
Yeah.
a point would be massive. A point,
Yeah.
a point would be massive because Palace are coming off the back of a really impressive performance against Arsenal.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And that was what I was really worried. So, you're going to have to trust Graham Jones to set up. How does he think the best team? Are we going to see players that we haven't seen in a while?
Yeah.
Are we going to bring back Shaw? Are we going to try Jamal? You know what I mean? So I think he'll have some freedom over the next 2 games to try players and to give players a chance because now you haven't got the excuse that Bruce is there.
Right.
No.
So it's like if we lose 2 games, which we could lose 2 games, it's not really Graham Jones's fault.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in charge, but it really does show you that if we lose both, that the state of the team is needed to be a bit of a refresh.
Yeah.
On the players as well. The players need to play for the shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they set maybe he sets the structure up differently.
Yeah.
And he gets them motivated to play hard the whole game,
Yeah.
So if those 2 things happen, it could be exciting for the next 2 games.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I definitely agree. Like we still have the same squad, right? But I do believe in Graham Jones attacking wise, and our attacking has been poor.
Yeah.
He still has to work with the same players. I'm interested to see what changes he makes. Like I love Richie, but I would be playing Lewis on the wing to have a bit more pace, and I think that'll add to our attack. I'd be interested to see if he thinks the same. I think that's the one key difference for me. Looking at the squad that we have, right? And but I personally I don't know. I know I said this against Spurs, but I really think that we're going to win tomorrow. I think that we're going to get our first win on the bounce. I think that people are going to understand that change is coming.
Right.
Bruce is gone, so whatever was going on there isn't going to fly anymore. I anticipate Graham being a little more strict. Because I would suspect that he would have to be being one of the assistant coaches for the England squad under Southgate.
Yeah.
And so I'm expecting us to come out a bit more attacking, but I'm also expecting us to come out knowing that we actually have to play for something now, right? So I really, but Palace do look good right now, but that also, Palace could be underestimating us because they think that they're going to play the same Newcastle that showed up all season. Yeah. And maybe it's those few tweaks that actually get us. And we have Callum Wilson fit for the match as well.
Yeah, we do.
And so I'm interested to see what he does. Regardless, better days are coming. It's looking like Fonseca will be our manager soon. And I'm excited about that. But I am pleased for Graham Jones, local lad, getting to, steer the ship for his boyhood club for at least 2, even if it's just for this match, he at least gets to do that. And I'm rooting for him. I've got nothing but support for Graham Jones. And I really hope that I'm right.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, we'll close on that and everything. I just, want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to interview you know, this living legend that got to go
Oh
experience
man,
match under the new regime.
it's all my pleasure, and I'll have to get out there for some day drinking.
Yes, we're really good at that.
We are.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, because you got to wake up so darn early.
That's it.
I know.
But
It's like a cup of coffee, then a pint, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're definitely more than welcome. You know, all Tune supporters are always welcome in San Diego. It's a beautiful city. It's paradise. And there's a great group of people that'll make you feel like you've got a bit of Newcastle with you as well. And yeah, so anytime you want, mate, you're more than welcome. Just let us know. And we'll put together a proper welcome party for you.
Hey, it'd be you know, I get my wife more excited about going, you know, only 1,500 miles, you know.
Yeah, better weather too. Hey.
Oh, it's great. San Diego's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Rich, Shade, it's all my pleasure. It was great. It was great.
Oh no, it's been an absolute honor to have you on.
Definitely.
Great story, and I just loved hearing the stories about your father and your whole family.
Yeah.
And the joy you're spreading through your family and your friends. So long may it continue, John.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. And I'm sure, you know, if I may, I'm sure that that your father would have been absolutely stoked about the Spurs match and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know, like that.
Yeah.
That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it again. Won't keep you for any longer, but also just real quick, thank you to Gallowgateshots for putting this together and seeing the opportunity to expand in the US. We're really grateful for that. We love running this show together, and we love being able to connect and feature fans in the States and talk about their stories and you know, bring us all together as we go into this new era and this new exciting time for our club and everything. And I'm really grateful that you get to be a part of it with us, John. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's great.
Thanks,
All
John.
right.
Away
Thanks.
the lads.
Away.
Lads.
Away.
All right. Let's get a win tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back
Thank
soon.
See you.
Be on the lookout. Thanks again, Gallowgateshots. All right.
Bye-bye.